Recorded. I'll go to full screen. So welcome everyone to this virtual community meeting to discuss NPA 2025-0008.01. If you haven't done so already, if you could put your name and organization in the chat. Please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone, and please turn off your video if you're participating online to save bandwidth. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to this website, publicinput.com/neighborhood plan amendment cases website tomorrow morning. If you do not want your image viewed publicly, please turn off your camera. As you know, this property is in the Rosewood neighborhood planning area. Mark Walters will be the meeting facilitator tonight. My name is Maureen Meredith. I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager. And Jonathan Tomko is the Zoning Case Manager, and this is our contact information. The agenda tonight, I'll go over basic case information, guidelines for group discussion, how to participate in this process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map, also called a FLUM. After my staff presentation, Richard Suttle, the applicant's agent, will do a presentation. Then we will open the meeting to Q&A. Property addresses are 2406 Rosewood, 2407.5 Sol Wilson Avenue, 1159.5 and 1169 Hargrave Street. It's 3.143 acres. Again, the case number is NPA 2025-0008.01. Project name is 2406 Rosewood Avenue. The plan amendment request is to change the future land use map from civic to mixed use land use. The owner applicant is American Can, a Texas nonprofit corporation. The agent is Richard T. Suttle Jr. from Armbrucht and Brown. The zoning case has the same addresses. Case number is C14 2025-0049. Again, same project name. The request is to change the zoning from SF3 NP Family Residence District Neighborhood Plan to CSMU CONP, which is General Commercial Services District, Mixed Use Combining District, Conditional Overlay Combining District Neighborhood Plan. Part of the property currently has a CSMU CO, so the part that's being rezoned is currently the tracts that have the SF3, and you can see that in the map that I'll show later on. Guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during the meeting. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand by clicking the hand symbol on the menu bar. If we have any telephone participants, you'll be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting, and we will call out the last 4 digits of your phone number. Attendees will be muted upon arrival, and through the staff and applicant presentations, then we will open the floor to the Q&A, and we'll go to the chat to check on questions at that time. Please be respectful to each other during the discussion. As mentioned, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to this website tomorrow morning. You can email or call me or Jonathan with any questions or comments that you have. If you provide written comments, we'll include them in the staff case reports when they're scheduled for Planning Commission and City Council. If you live within 500 feet of the property, when they are scheduled for Planning Commission and City Council, you'll get the notice in the mail. It will have the date, time, and location of the meetings and instructions on how to participate in the public hearings in person and virtually. So why is there a neighborhood plan amendment? Neighborhood plan amendments are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. And the city charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most neighborhood plan amendments are changes to a future land use map, and most have an associated zoning application. This map shows areas in blue that have City Council approved neighborhood plans. All the planning areas have a plan document that has the vision and goals of the planning area, and most of which also have a future land use map. For these maps, the land use colors represent broad land uses. For example, yellow is single family, civic is blue, mixed use is brown, and for this property, the current land use is civic. which is shown in blue, and the proposed is mixed use, which is represented by brown. This is an aerial photo that just shows the property. Google map that shows some of the surrounding uses. Some Google screenshots that show the facility as it's seen on Sol Wilson, Hargrave, and Rosewood. This is an aerial photo with the future land use map overlaid. You can see under that blue haze is also the blue land use. This is the zoning map. See, part of the property is zoned SF3NP, and part of it is zoned the CSMU-CONP, and the proposed zoning is to rezone the entire property to the CSMU-CONP. This is the Imagine Austin Growth Concept Map. While these colors represent regional centers, town centers, neighborhood centers, and activity corridors. This map shows a property in relation to that previous map, and you can see it's just south of the MLK Station Neighborhood Center. You can see airport to the right of your screen, which is an activity center, which is shown with the brown lines with the white center in the middle. This shows the public transportation in proximity to the property. That ends my presentation. I'll stop sharing my screen and Richard can start his presentation.
Can y'all hear me? I'm assuming you can. Everybody always starts these meetings like that. Just to kind of gauge who we've got on the meeting, it appears that we have Aaron, we have Sol, we have Aaron. Do we have more neighbors on than 3, or how many people we have? I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like we have 10 neighborhood people, several people on the phone.
Good. All right, well then bear with me while I try to share this. So I hit share. This one.
Down at the very bottom.
This one. Did I get there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is just the same information Marian gave us, the case numbers and all that stuff. We're not going to have a whole lot different. This is an aerial photograph showing the site. The folks that live out there now, you guys know that there's a charter school there now. Zoning map showing existing zoning, and what the SF3 right here is what we're going to make consistent with the zoning on Rosewood. Same as on the plan amendment. Same as on the FLUM. We're going from the civic to the mixed use. Now it gets interesting. I'll just do a narrative, and it's going to be brief. It's basically what my client Topo would like to do, and Topo, you jump in the minute I start lying, or Amanda and Kelly, you do the same. Is we want to do an adaptive reuse of most of the existing building that's there now, and turn it into a really cool space of a mix of uses, including the potential for doing some residential uses on the site. The mix of uses could be small shops, small offices, small restaurants. What else? Food and beverage. And but respecting the building there, and Topo is really good at taking reusing facilities, and that's kind of the thought process here. Now, Topo, am I doing all right so far?
You're doing great.
Okay. Now, if you don't know about Topo, they're a developer that their work precedes them and really describes what kind of folks they are, what kind of work they do. And probably something that y'all have seen before is Springdale General. And it's a bigger space. It's different, but it gives you the feel where they don't do overwhelming tall stuff. It's very placemaking. It's very people oriented. It's very human in scale. That is illustrative of what they can do. These are just pictures of more of the same. We've actually had meetings over here. It's a delightful place to just have meetings. It's very comfortable, very inviting. Canopy is another one that they've done. Their architecture is really cool, very human in scale. Creative spaces. This is other projects in the Springdale. These are the tenants.
Yes.
These you kind of, it's hard to see, but it's local. It's small businesses. It's cool stuff you've seen before, you've heard of, and they all mix in and interact with each other.
Springdale Green as well.
This is also Springdale Green, some of the folks that are in there. And this is our information should you want to see us. And that's the short version of this. What I'd like to do is open it up for questions, and I'm most interested in when people join a meeting like this. It's kind of hard to do. What is it that interested them about this case, and what can we do to provide you the information you need?
Okay, thank you, Richard. Well, we have a hand up already. Kevin Beard. Kevin, would you please unmute and ask your question, please?
Yeah, I live extremely close to this location, and I mean, my interest in attending today was to see what the proposals would be for, future use for the property. Some of those things have been addressed. When would this, when would construction commence on a project like this? I realize it's probably going to be a good ways out, pending approvals and, permitting and all of that type of stuff. But what is the anticipation for the go forward plans?
Dopa, do you want to try that one, or do you want me to pick something?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's Kevin, right?
Yes, correct.
You hit the nail on the head. We're getting through approvals. We need to get our site plan approved and some other things. Obviously, this process, and we anticipate that sometime in sort of the first part of next year, or at the latest, sort of mid 26. And so we're also would love to talk a little bit about going through. We're in the discovery phase of going through the historic designation here. So keeping that existing building. You have Eileen Wright here, and I'm Kim Shipman. Eileen can talk a little bit about that. That's also a process we'll want to try to get through as well.
Yeah. So we love the existing building. It's beautiful. It's been great. We're working with a historic preservation consultant who is in the middle of the research process. So we're still learning a lot about it. But while it appears one building, it's actually built over 3 different time periods. And so we're kind of digging into that, and we've passed the eligibility portion of getting it registered as a historic place. So that'll be part of our process. And then so really showcasing the existing architecture of the building as we're adaptively reusing it and creating this kind of local hub where we would like to have local offices, retail, food and beverage potentially. But none of those tenants have been kind of curated yet. But as you can see from our list, we're very interested in getting local small businesses. That's really what we've done for a long time and want to continue to do.
Okay.
So any other questions? Any other questions, Kevin?
Yeah. So just to be clear, because I'm in my vehicle right now, I don't have the correlation to the addresses. This is the building that is currently being used as a school, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What about the municipality building that's somewhat across or sort of cat a corner next to the Baptist church? It's the emergency vehicle repair center, right? You see a lot of ambulances and police vehicles and things being repaired there. Isn't that also going to be rezoned, and some type of construction is going to happen there, and that municipality is going to move to another location? Is that correct?
That's not us.
Yeah, we're not aware of that.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Fleet, it's the City of Austin Fleet Services facility number
Police
6.
services, yeah, yeah.
And I think there is in the preliminary, very preliminary discussions, as you just noted,
Okay,
it's still in operation. So,
okay,
And we don't have anything to do with it. We're a much tinier.
okay. That's not in that's not in consideration for for the purpose of today's meeting. Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay, understood.
okay, the next person who has their hand up is Kenneth W. And I think you in the chat, Kenneth also had a question about no, that was someone else. Never mind, Kenneth. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Make your comment.
Good afternoon. How you doing? My name is Kenneth Wallace, longtime Austinite, East Austin to be exact. And my grandmother's house sits on the rear adjacent corner lot right there on Saul Wilson and Hargrave. So we will be directly affected by this rezoning and also the plan that you guys have. It's interesting to hear that you guys are wanting to rezone this because that FRI school there has a lot of rich history in East Austin. And one of my main concerns and my family's concerns were how directly impacted the neighborhood people and homeowners and would be affected by this new bill. I mean, as far as the taxes go, there'll be a rise in taxes, an uptick, and preserving the cultural history of that building and what it means to East Austin. Because the F.R. Rice building is there. It's actually an educator who was significant in East Austin's school in 1931 to 1972. He pioneered in education and was a progressive educator who implemented innovative ideas, including initiating the first hot lunch program for students in the entire district of Austin Independent School District. So with this happening here, right, we want to make sure that it serves as a space for those community kids and for the community as well, because it serves so much, it has richness and heritage in our community. And to come and tear down or build on such a property without taking that into consideration is a major it's a major red flag. And not only that, my family still uses that corner lot right there to park on. My grandmother's been in that house probably 30 plus years, and she has 10 kids and over 30 grandchildren. So we will all be directly affected and impacted by this new bill. So we do appreciate you guys opening up this community meeting for a couple of different reasons, to voice our concerns and to also hear how you guys plan to, justify that or kind of compensate the inconvenience fees and things like that going forward.
Well, I think we're on the same page. Topo, they're doing a deep dive on the historical aspects of this site and this building. And I think we're going to honor both the heritage and the history of the site and the building through the adaptive reuse. It's always probably less expensive to come in and just scrape the site and start over. But Topo has realized that would probably not sit well with you or your family or your grandmother. Or is it your mom or your grandma?
My grandmother, but she has 10 children and there's probably 20, 30 grandchildren. So, and we still congregate there. So we use the space right there adjacent to the rear of the building. And I'm familiar with Topo as well. Doing the Springdale General, I worked on a couple of those job sites. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that you don't forget about the community members, the homeowners, and the residents that are directly impacted by this, and that you are an inclusive build more so in allowing those shops to be to be spaces for use of the immediate community, the children, and those kids that were at that school prior to this build.
I think you're going to be pleased with it. It'll be a place that it'll be a gathering spot for all ages, and like I said, honoring the building and honoring the history, and being cognizant of the fact that we're going to be going in next door to your family home there.
Okay, I'm going to go into the chat. There's a couple questions. You all may or may not know the answer, but from Aaron Cloniger, do you know where the original Blackshear Elementary School was located? Anyone on the team?
No, we're still in our discovery phase of a lot of the history, at least at this location, but no, we don't know yet.
So if I'm not mistaken, the F.R. Rice was the principal at the Blackshear Elementary, and that school was named after him after he served for over 40 years as the principal at Blackshear Elementary.
Which I think is on 11th Street.
Yes, it's on 11th, and I want to say, what is that, Chacon? Is that corner there?
Yeah, that's close to. Okay, there's another question again from Aaron. And just, do you know which current address is at the location where Mr. Saul Wilson bought a small section of cow pasture and built its family house? Again, like you just said, you're in the initial phases of doing your historic research. So then, Aaron, you have a question. Would you unmute and ask your question, make your comment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Aaron Cloninger. I live on Phil Wilson Avenue, the short section of Phil Wilson Avenue. And to answer the question about the namesake of the road, that address is, it was 2501 Sol Wilson Avenue, with a driveway cut on Bedford Street, which has now been subdivided into 4 separate addresses and has been a 5-year-long construction project that's not complete yet. I'm really concerned about things like, traffic through our neighborhood. We have 2 dead ends. People think they're going to cut through and find a way around, and then they realize it's a dead end, even though we've asked for more dead end signs and people just don't see them, and then they end up backing through and hitting cars. And as you may know, on Hargrave Street there's a brownfield that has changed ownership numerous times over the last 15 years or so, and it's just an overgrown lot. Most of it used to be a city dump, and there's rubble and concrete with rebar sticking out of it, and in the forest, and there's some trails that connect between Bedford and what I call the Yellow Store. It's a little bodega at Hargrave and 12th, and then I think the trail wise somewhere in the brownfield and goes to the Big Sol Wilson, the dead end of the Big Sol Wilson, which I guess must have connected at some point, but before. I mean, if it
never connected. It's just what they call paper street. I think there's some topography in the way between the two segments.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that everybody loves this developer, and they don't own this property, so I don't see any pudding to have any proof in to to know that they're not just going to do the same thing that developers have done with the brownfield on Hargrave. And so, you know, you change the zoning, and then you make some glorious, beautiful presentation. You maybe even put up a sign along the road, coming soon, and then that's when you sell it, because you just raise the value of it. And it's a all too common game. And here we are with our little dead ends and people backing out of the dead ends and hitting our cars. So, you know, our neighborhood is so small that, you know, we just, it doesn't really fit the mold of all these neighborhoods around us that have enough residences to have a voice. So I want to hear that we're going to be looked after.
You'll be looked after. Topo's got a reputation for doing that. Like I said, we didn't do a slick presentation for you because that's not our style. We're going to get through the historical research and to preserve this building, and then re-tenant and reuse it so it'll fit, it'll remain and continue to fit into the neighborhood. But that being said, I'm not diminishing your thoughts on some developers, because you're right, that's what some do. But our experience with Topo is that that's not what they do.
Yeah, I'll just add, you know, there's no reason you would know our background or how we invest, but, you know, with Springdale General and Cmty, we've owned both of those now, both of those projects for over 10 years. And so we're very much a long-term game and stay in those developments after we build them and lease them up, and we stay and are a part of that community as part of our general philosophy. So we've done that with, you know, we've been doing projects, infill projects for over 30 years and in Austin. And so it has been part of our philosophy to definitely not be what are called merchant builders. And this, we have that same philosophy going into this one.
I think
There's
our history of building developments just show that everything that we do is in scale with what's around it. I don't think we have any projects over, you know, for the most part, over 2 stories. They're always 1 or 2 stories because that's where they're fitting, as Kim said, into the neighborhoods around them, and they're often infill projects. And so our goal is to fit into the area and not impose or be dominating to the neighborhood.
Okay. I'm going to go to the chat here, and there's this comment from Kenneth W., who says he agrees with Aaron's comments, and community and the homeowners are stuck with the property tax hike. I think he's echoing what Aaron said. And then Javier, I'm the neighbor from the property across Bedford on 2500 Rosewood, Rosa Verde project. This will be a great for the community, fully endorses this type of development and rezone. Then I'm going to go now to, there's 3 people have their hands up. And the first is Kenneth. Would you unmute and ask your question or make your comment, please?
Yeah, I just had a quick question to the developer. And I'm very familiar with the Springdale General, as I work with Adam and Abe Zimmerman as well, Ongar. But my question was, how do you reassure the community members that they benefit from the inconveniences caused by the developments, and they are able to use the spaces provided or benefit from the spaces provided as well? What is your plan there?
Well, I would say it's always part of our discovery is to really understand the community and those patterns of whether those are traffic patterns or the ingress egress of our site, as well as the both indoor and outdoor public spaces on the project itself. It's always something that we go in really first to look at the site and embrace the site and what it can offer for public spaces. And so that, you know, we're, like I said, we're still early in our discovery on that design and that site work. But it's definitely
so will the community So will the community around you be a part of the data there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next person with their hand up is Sabrina. Would you please unmute and ask your question?
Yes. My name is Brenda Taylor. Am a actually Kenneth is my nephew and does live directly behind the property. And my question is there a blueprint that was shared, or I guess an illustration of the building? I did come on the meeting a little bit late. Maybe that was shown. I'm not sure.
Sabrina, we showed pictures of the existing building because we plan to reuse that building.
And it's going to be a residence.
No, ma'am, it'll be a mixed use. It'll have a mix of offices and food and beverage and retail and just a whole bunch of cool, small, local type shops.
Thank you.
Now, the next person with their hand up is Aaron M. If you would please unmute and ask your question or make your comment.
Yes, I'm wondering if there's any intention to build on to the existing building, or you'll be working exclusively with the space that the school occupies. And then as well as that, the parking, will there be additional parking?
Sure. The goal is we'll have to do, as I said, the current building, while it's all connected, it actually was built over 3 or 4 different time periods. And so we'll have to do some adjustments to make it ADA compatible. Right now there's no elevator in the building, and it's probably on 4 different levels as you kind of traverse the topography of the site. So one, we'll just have to make some adjustments to the existing building and probably put in an elevator or 2. And then we're looking at a potential addition, but it has to be, because, as I said, we're pursuing historic designation. And so part of it, and the reason we have a historic preservation consultant involved in doing the research, is that anything, if we do add, has to be in character with the existing building. So that hasn't been determined yet, but anything, if added, will be small in nature because it has to be subservient to the existing building, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and the next person with their hand up before we go back to the chat is Helen Taylor. Helen, if you would please unmute and ask your question or make your comment.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Helen Taylor. My question is, how many office spaces would you have in that building?
That right now, Helen, thanks for the question, is unknown just because we don't know yet the kind of tenants that we might have and what sizes they may want. We could have kind of many small offices, or if there's a few kind of larger tenants, and by large tenants, I mean like 2,000 or 3,000 square feet, still fairly small by office standards, honestly. But so it's just not yet known, I would say.
Okay, and then did I hear residential something connected also to the building?
So we're early on in looking at that. There's a piece of the property, the site, obviously where the existing building is not. There's a portion of the site that could accommodate, call it 15 to 20 units, like low density sort of townhomes at one side of the site. Still very early on what that may look like, but obviously not attached to the school existing building, but more on the west side. Sol Wilson and the
Not Hargrave.
Beckley.
Which interesting enough that used to be allowed.
Bedford.
Interesting enough, that used to be allowed under the current zoning as well.
Okay.
And approximately
there's
how many?
15 units.
And then parking?
We'll have to accommodate that, even if there's no parking requirements in the city. We'll need to make sure that that's parked well for
On the site.
on the site.
And also what this does to the community with tax increase, because growing up in Austin, it has come to our understanding that most of these companies come into this east side of Austin and tax out seniors and residential people that, way back before our time, we were not allowed to go across 35 West. So we were forced to be in East Austin. Now it looks like we're being taxed out to where we won't own any property in East Austin because of the taxes are too high, because people like you and others are coming into the east side of Austin building, and that increases the tax for our ancestors, well, for our grandparents or our parents, and then the kids. When the parents pass away, the kids are unable to, afford the residence, do the taxes, and take care of the expenses to the property. So is that taken into consideration for the community with taxes being taxed out?
That's a hard one because that is a function of property all over the city becoming more valuable, and we don't have a good answer for that one.
Thank you.
And you kind of touched on this, but this is from Courtney Moore in the chat, how would traffic parking, how would that look like? How would that be handled?
I think what we would say is we will be looking at that. That is part of every project. We look at the impact of what we're doing and how we will accommodate parking and traffic. And so we don't have a perfect answer for you now but just know that that's part of the process.
In order for the project to be successful, you've got to have adequate parking and good access, or it won't be a successful project and we won't get tenants. So it's a delicate balance.
Okay, so Aaron, you have another question or comment? Could you please unmute and ask your question or make a comment?
Hi, this is Aaron Cloninger again. I would go further and ask for a statement about parking to say, something like street parking on Bedford and So Wilson is 100% for the neighborhood and 0% for this development. And because it's already been a mess. And aside from that, I'm interested in these townhomes that you're talking about. If you look on Rosewood, there's a new 2 addresses, 2510 and 2508. There's a 2518 Rosewood. I think that's the right one. Neighbors in this back up to the Big Red Barn, because it's designed for parties, and so it's a short-term rental with a hot tub and a big sound system, back porch, and it has like something booming like 8 bedrooms. So even though these short-term rentals, these are by their standards not allowing parties, by design this building draws them in, and so it's a constant struggle. And guess what I just learned about the brand new one next to it, 2508 2510, designed for short-term rental. And then also on the corner, a nice couple used to live on a big triple, or I forget, maybe quadruple lot. I think it was a quadruple lot, corner of Bedford and Rosewood. That house was demolished, and somehow I guess maybe it was always mixed. So I didn't. But anyways, now it's mixed use zoning, and that's short. That they're proposing a project. The same owners as the one who just finished the pool party house. So you got 3 in a row right there that are all designed for short-term rentals. And this is a family neighborhood, and I need some statements about standards for parking and not having it be a party zone.
The city has a program for residents only parking. It's outside of our project. Of course, we don't have anything to do with it, but they can designate certain areas of neighborhoods as resident parking only, and you have to have a hang tag, and you got to be kind of careful though, because if you got a buddy come over to your house that doesn't have the permit, they park there and they get ticketed or hauled off. In terms of short-term rentals, have we talked about it or thought about short-term rentals at all, or?
No.
We were just in the exploratory phase
Yeah.
of some sort of
Yeah, and I
residential.
think there's another question about, is it for sale or for rent? I mean, all of that is, we still haven't determined exactly what product type that would be. Just that residential, that is fitting with the community and that style and needs of the community would be great to have there with the land there.
This is about the time in these meetings where neighbors start going, well, what do you know? And what we do know is that we try to get out in front of this early and start getting a collection of the concerns and questions early on while we're still doing our research, so that we don't just come in here and have one of these meetings one day and say, here's how it's going to be, take it or leave it. So this is all very helpful input. If you hear in our voices that we don't know all the answers, it's because we don't. We're still researching it and studying it and taking input from the neighbors such as y'all.
I know I mentioned it, but part of because we are seeking the historic designation, this has to go through a large process of historic review and approval for everything that we do, like from down to the light fixtures in the building, because everything has to follow the rules in order to kind of meet that historic designation. So that's another reason we honestly don't have answers sometimes, is because it's a back and forth with the National Park Service that administers this program, and the state historic entity that also helps administer it.
So you're going for a local designation, or I mean,
no,
not local, but through the federal government, the
federal government, yeah.
Register of Historical Places.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a question from Tina. Once the project starts, what is the approximate timeline? How long? I think that means how long do you think the construction period will last? I know it's early on, but if you had to.
Yeah, I mean, we could anticipate that that's 12 to 18 months for the commercial component, depending on where that residential may start or not. That could be a separate process, but the existing building would be about 12 to 18 months from when we start.
Okay, and same thing for Tina, second part. You mentioned parking will be on site for tenants. I'd like to please consider also having extra for their visitors. I live on a short part of Bedford, the dead end part. There's often so many extra cars on the street that there is no room for our cars, much less anyone that comes to visit us. I think you've discussed that. It's a very early stage.
Yeah.
And this is from Kevin Beard. Will the 15 residential units in the plans be rentals or for sale? And you think you addressed that as well? You don't know yet. And I think you said that you've pretty much said they wouldn't be short-term rentals.
We haven't talked about that. I don't.
That has not been anything that has been our discussion.
I mean, we state
on the
that
list.
you haven't been talking about that.
No.
And Tina says, I second the part about keeping this family neighborhood and not a party zone and commercial. And from Sabrina, is this project set in stone already? So yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But well, from our standpoint, as we said, Discovery, we are doing a ton of research on the history of the building. And we are dedicated to, doing this project. I would give it high confidence that this is followed through as we continue to do our discovery and plans and design. Our group is very committed to it. This is the set in stone part is the pieces that are set in stone is that we've decided to go after the historic designation. So there's a lot we cannot do with the existing building outside of what's under those constraints. So that part is sort of set in stone in how we're addressing the design process. But who the tenants will be is we've talked about who we typically would recruit to a site like this. But no tenants are set in stone yet. So some pieces of it are, and some are not.
With that, we have a time check. We have about 40 minutes left, and there's several folks in the meeting who haven't had a chance to ask questions. So I'm going to go down my list of participants and ask them if they have any questions or comments that haven't been made already. And this first one is for the individual whose phone number ends in 6285. Do you have any questions for the applicant or their agents?
No.
No. And the next person whose phone number ends in 2460. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I've already asked my questions. Thank you.
Okay. And Aaron, have you any other questions or comments?
Hello. Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes, Aaron Cloninger.
I was just starting to type out a chat. It was a question for Miss Meredith and Mr. Tomko, and I was wondering if there are some pathways that our neighborhood could take to organize our efforts and have a more effective voice in the informing this project with some gravity, or is it is it more of like a gentleman's scene where we come with good ideas and be kindly and persuasive, and it might transpire because their real estate is larger than ours.
Maureen here. I recommend you work with the Rosewood Planning Contact Team. Jane Rivera is the chair. If you want to reach out to me tomorrow, or maybe I can look it up real quick in the community registry and put it in the chat if she has public information available. I would reach out to her and work with the planning contact team on your concerns, and you can continue to meet with and communicate with Richard Suttle and his team and the applicants in preparation for the Planning Commission and City Council hearings, and also work with Jonathan on whatever is agreed to. If some of it can be put in a conditional overlay, and he would have more information on that. But let me look real quick and put in the chat any information I can find to contact Jane Rivera with the Rosewood Planning Contact Team. But I would start with her and continue to reach out, like I said, to Richard Suttle, Kelly, Amanda, and the applicants, and work with them from after this meeting. This is the only meeting the city will facilitate and organize. So from this point on, it will be you and your neighborhood reaching out to them and continuing the dialogue.
And I like to emphasize or build on what Maureen said. This is not the end of the discussion. This is the beginning of the discussion. So take this opportunity to make your voices heard in the different avenues that you have available to you that Maureen described. Next would be Bubba. Do you have any questions or comments? You'd unmute and ask. If not,
No, I'm good. Everybody's on the same page. I'm just listening in.
okay. Well, thanks for coming out tonight. The next person is Courtney Moore. Courtney, do you have any additional questions or comments for Mr. Suttle or the applicant?
No, I do not.
Okay. Eric Bird, do you have any comments or questions?
I'm wondering if there are any special features of this project that may cause complications that you've noticed at this point in the process.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
He asked, do you anticipate the possibility of unexpected things you might find in an old building? I think might be a way of asking. That's the way I kind of interpreted it. Does that sound fair, Eric?
That's fair. It could be the building's age. It could be any special features, proximity to the sidewalk. I'm not familiar with the actual building. So, but are there any features of this project that are unique that you foresee may cause problems down the line?
Nothing that can't be worked around. Whenever you're dealing with an old building and you're doing adaptive reuse, it's far more difficult to do that than it is to scrape it and start over. But it's far more interesting when you get done.
Okay. Aaron M., do you have any questions or comments for the applicant or their agents?
Well, I did ask if we were planning on building onto the existing building, and then later in the discussion, mention of 10 to 15 townhomes came up. I would imagine that would require considerable amount of building, right?
That would not be connected to the existing building.
Okay, but I was just asking more about construction on the site that would that's removing, if those townhomes would be on Bedford between Rosewood and Saul Wilson, that would be removing all the existing parking from the space currently. So then I guess my question is, where would anybody park for using any of that space?
We're still
That's how we get
process,
yeah.
but the idea, like the sketches that we're still working through, which again are not at all worked out or even approved through like the historic process or anything, would be like adding parking where you see the existing parking. And then if there were to be residential, parking under that residential or creating a small little court. And we've also looked at a live work unit kind of thing that could be retail on the ground floor with live above, but again, it's not at all designed yet.
Okay.
There's someone who is just to be known as guest. Didn't type their name in. Do you have a question or comment? Hearing none, I'll go on to the next. For Helen Taylor, do you have any additional questions or comments?
Yes, the additional question is, it sounds like this project is going forward. Am I correct? Because they've closed the school and information is stated that this is what's going to happen.
Well, Helen, yes, the project's going forward. But like we said, there's a lot of unknowns yet as to what we're going to do on the building and the site and all. But what we do know is our intention is to do the research on the historical nature of the building, reuse the building, and have a human scale, well dimensioned project on the site.
No other questions.
Thank you. Javier, do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none, we go back to Kevin Beard. Kevin, do you have any additional questions or comments?
No additional questions at the moment. My comment's going to be one of the, it's going to sound similar to the others, and the fact that I'm concerned about the parking and how that's going to be handled. And I know you don't have anything other than preliminary sketches at the moment, so you can't really address it, but I don't want to end up in a situation, especially since you're considering retail, which is, the goal in retail is to draw as many customers as you possibly can. I just don't want to have Hargrave and the other surrounding streets, particularly in front of my house, if I'm selfishly speaking, just lined with cars, that are, full of people that are intending to go and occupy the space. And as one of the other, local residents mentioned, there's not a lot of room on this property for you to build additional parking. So I don't see, the feasibility and having all of the parking contained to the actual property without a lot of spillover onto the neighborhood streets. That's my big concern.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Next person is Tina. Do you have any questions or comments? Just unmute and ask away if you have. If not, see that you're unmuted, Tina. Do you have any questions? Now, if you're talking, we can't hear you. So we're going to the next one, Tonya Freeman. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes. Sound like pretty much you just come in and lay your eyes on a piece of property and just say, that's it, it's mine, and I'm finna do this and do that. Instead of, y'all don't work with the community no more. You say this is our first and last meeting, right?
No, ma'am. This is the very first one.
This the very first one.
This is the very first
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
That's why we
But
don't have a whole lot of information.
she just sit up and said that it's already set in stone. So that's pretty much what y'all come from upstate and just take over people's property. I mean, I'm so for sure y'all gonna do what you want to do anyway.
Well, we're definitely here to hear your feedback, and that's why it is the first early in the process, and how we're taking the perspectives and the comments that are made here. We are local, so and we hope that we improve that community as we listen to this and incorporate that into our design planning.
Okay, we have a person with their hand held up. It'd be Aaron Cloninger. Aaron, would you unmute and ask your question or make your comment?
Hi, it's Aaron again. I'm just thinking about the flow of traffic, and another commenter had mentioned, oh well, I'm not sure where you would put the parking, but it made me think, oh well, there's some topography on this site, and down in the acute corner of Rosewood and Hargrave, the southwest corner of the lot, that's a lower area by far, probably 20 feet. And there's room down there for parking. And
Aaron, we are looking at that. We have a civil engineer who studies that. It's a really complicated site in the sense that it is surrounded. I'm getting feedback. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's
I'll-
okay. But because the site obviously is an island, right? It's surrounded on 4 different streets. And so the city has requirements on curb cuts and how far they can be from intersections and everything. So it's really complicated. We are studying that and would like to add parking in that triangle you're talking about. I just can't say for sure because we have to get the city to agree to where we would like to add curb cuts, where we'd like to add parking. And so that's why it really is an unknown. But if we can keep traffic off, the streets that you guys have talked about, I think Hargrave and Rosewood are obviously larger, connector streets versus a residential street. So it makes sense for traffic to be on those. I just can't promise what the city is going to allow us to do as far as curb cuts because of all of the intersections, honestly.
Thank you. I hear you. And you said my eventual point yourself that it'd be great to put the parking down there, keep the traffic off our neighborhood street. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think we're in agreement, honestly. So we don't know what the city will let us do yet.
One of the main takeaways we have from this initial meeting is that we need to really be on our game the next time we all get together about traffic and parking.
Hey, Kenneth W., would you ask your question or make your comment, please?
Thank you guys again. I just yes, parking and traffic are two of the main takeaways, but I just want to make sure that we are very clear about the use of this historic building and what we're doing and the message that we're sending to our community children, the parents in the community, and those people that have been in the community for, let's say, 3 decades, right? So I would also want to make sure that the profits and the money that is made from this historic building and this beautiful project you guys will lead doesn't leave that community that is impacted the most. So some sort of resource center that is free to the kids in the community, along with also building up the other properties that are adjacent to it, the Yellow Jacket Stadium and also the Millennium Youth Entertainment Complex, because those centers and those properties were meant for community use and to build heritage, and not only heritage, but giving our children a place to congregate, play, fellowship, to keep them out of the said streets. And I just feel like this is just a horrible idea if we don't keep the people that are affected the most in the front of our minds. This isn't about property, politics, or any of that stuff. This is about the people of the community that will be directly impacted, and making sure that we pay the homage necessary to F.R. Rice himself and the wonderful work that he's done in East Austin for so many years prior to the developments and to the gentrification and things like that, because not only are the homeowners, and we're not talking about renters here, the homeowners going to be directly impacted due to just the inconvenience fee alone, right? Just not being able to enjoy their home that they pay for, that they've already paid off, without machines running at night, without the trucks entering and exiting the job sites. And we're talking 18 months, 12 to 18 months, give or take, is what you said. And that wasn't even including the residential piece, right? So let's make sure that we keep the immediate community and those directly impacted the most by this. We're closing a said education building, right? So not only are we pushing out children and raising the community's taxes, we're also not giving them an alternative space to play. And we're not putting back money back into the community that would be directly impacted. I mean, the Millennium Youth Entertainment Complex and also the Yellow Jacket Stadium, which also has rich history as well. So along with the parking and the flow of traffic and things like that, let's make sure that we don't forget about the people.
Got it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that haven't been made, so far this evening? You know, we have another 20 minutes, but a meeting doesn't have to extend to the time allotted for. So we can, if everyone's asked their questions or made their comments, we can wrap up a little early and get on with our lives. Two things. Richard, could you put up your contact information first so anyone who might have missed it early on can have another opportunity to get that?
Is it showing now?
No, sir.
You have to share. Do it again.
Up here?
Yep.
So anyone who wants to engage has this opportunity with your contact information.
Top, right under that one.
How about now?
Yes, sir. So you have Amanda's and Kelly's contact information.
Yeah,
and
nobody
they
wants
work
to
with
talk to
Richard.
me anyway.
That's very small. Could you guys drop that in the chat, please?
Oh man, now you're asking a lot.
Well, y'all taking property, so I mean.
He was joking, sir. I think he was.
I'm saying I don't know how.
I was as well.
Well, maybe let someone else do it, Richard.
Well, we're trying to figure that out. Have y'all ever dropped anything in the chat?
We'll figure it out.
Just copy it.
Copy and paste.
And copy and paste. Well, while you're doing that, Richard, Maureen, do you want to put up your contact information and kind of go over what the next steps in our process would be?
Get me out of the way. They run me out of my
We
office.
gotta get him out of here.
Could
Yeah, let
blow
me
it up
pull that.
and screenshot
So,
it.
real quickly, I'll just go through my next processes. So I will meet with my team and we'll make a recommendation on the plan amendment request. I'll report back to my team the questions and concerns from this meeting. We'll look at the neighborhood plan, we'll look at the comp plan, and we will make a recommendation on the request to change the future land use map from civic to mixed use. We'll pass that recommendation on to Jonathan Tomko and his zoning team. I'll repeat back to them questions and concerns at the meeting, and they will make a recommendation on the zoning request. We'll wait to hear back from Richard Suttle and his team on any future meetings that they might be scheduling with the neighborhood. And at some point, when the cases are ready to go to Planning Commission, we will pick out a date. We'll reach out to the planning contact team and let them know of the date. For the neighborhood people here at this meeting, if you want to touch base with me in about a week or two to get any update on any prospective Planning Commission hearing date we might be looking at, please don't hesitate to do that. After Planning Commission action, the case will be scheduled for City Council. We don't have those dates picked out yet, but again, you can touch base with me in a week or two and see if we have any updates.
And for the folks, it's usually 3-4 weeks, if not a little longer, between Planning Commission and the City Council. So they're not back to back to back. And you'll receive, like Maureen said, information on how to participate either in person or virtually. Oh, Aaron, do you have a question or comment?
Hi. Yes. Thank you for everybody for taking the time, and we really appreciate this in the royal we. And I was wondering, representatives of Topo, if you would be open to considering having a project meet a standard like Living Building Challenge.
Having a what? Can you repeat that?
A green building standard, like Living Building Challenge. I'm just trying to think on my toes here, and I'm thinking, green building standards, there's a good number of them. City of Austin actually has its own, the oldest city green building standard in the world. But Living Building Challenge is more aggressive than some of these other standards, and it has social aspects to including community equity, things like that are put in. So I want to challenge you all. That's my statement.
Yeah,
We'll look at that. We'll look at that. We don't.
look at that.
I second that, Aaron.
We'll look at that and see. We can't commit to it, obviously, because we don't know what it is, but we'll sure look at it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, with any other questions or comments? Like I said, we can end about 15 minutes early, and we can go get our dinners, get ready, or go pick them up however you plan to enjoy your supper. And I'd like to echo what Aaron said. I'm really appreciative of everybody who took some time out of their busy lives to find out about this proposed project. And with that, I would like to wish everybody a good evening and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great one too.
I'll stop recording.